members talking about if we built something, what would they want? And so I worked with a lot of the companies, economic development groups, city groups, and that was 2 years of work. And then since then, right, we've had a pandemic that has had a huge hit to the economy, an even bigger hit to the Maine economy than other states because of our reliance on tourism and other industries that have been hit harder. And we've had an awakening to the continued racial violence in America and the national conversation about systemic oppression. And the conversation about privilege and personal responsibility and opportunities that we create, that's all part of building an institution of higher education. And I say, we used to, people ask, how are you doing despite all of these, macro issues? And I say, well, we're trying to build this now because of those macro issues. Right? We want to be a place of diversity and inclusion. We want to be a place that provides a lot of economic opportunity for people. And so I say all that because that is the context in which we partner. I moved to Maine. I am a New Yorker. I moved to Maine 3 years ago because I love it here. I love the community. I want to raise my kids here and build a life here. And building Roux, a key piece of this is building on what we have here and acknowledging and recognizing what we need to provide opportunity and resiliency in the economy and, frankly, greater growth. And so that's the context. So what are we doing with partnerships? So as Mike mentioned, we have a focus on the higher education partnerships, and this is because we don't want to duplicate what's here. There's fantastic colleges here. What we want to do is create the graduate programs that give folks the really higher order technical skills that allow them to drive 21st century companies. And by doing that and marrying it with the research institute, we then become the sort of the final piece of what should be a K to 12 to undergrad to graduate pipeline. And so our partnerships, we are now working on explicit partnerships with colleges and universities in the state to build those pipelines. We're starting to talk to folks at Portland Public Schools and Lewiston Public Schools about ways that we can work with their teachers and their students. So the academic side of the partnerships, and then the corporate partnerships are incredibly important. We launched with 10 founding corporate partners. We've had 3 additional large companies join us as founding partners. We're hoping to grow to 15 very soon. So we're adding corporate partners. And what does that mean? They offer courses and degrees and certificates that they sponsor for their employees. They're going to work with us on recruiting talent that comes out of the Institute to provide great jobs and build their technology businesses in Maine. And then finally, they work, as Mike said, on scoping out innovation and research projects that we can cooperate with them on that can really push new parts of their business. We're also doing some additional partnerships with smaller companies, emerging companies that need more research collaborations and talent pipelines. And those emerging partners are really exciting and fun because they're small dynamic companies that are trying to grow very fast. So that's what we do with partnerships. It's the core of this is building, with the companies that are here, attracting new companies here, and then helping to build new companies. So I think that's where I'll stop and open it up. You've heard a lot about the updates on the academics, the operations, and the partnerships. And I'll pause and we'd love to open it up to questions. You can use the chat.
Margaret, I think we actually have one question already that was asked, so I can kind of pose that to the group if that's okay. Kit McCarthy asked when we kind of first came on is, how can alumni become involved with the Roux Institute? Are there volunteer or mentoring opportunities for alumni?
Thanks, Kit. That's a really terrific question. And a couple things to say that come to mind for me. As we start to serve students in the fall, certainly, we want to put a community around them, people who know the values of Northeastern and the way that Northeastern and its experiential learning emphasis can advantage them through their graduate education and in their careers. So that is a perfect sort of question and suggestion with respect to how to answer Rick's question, how could you be involved? You could let us know that you'd like to be, and we'll find ways to help you. Also, just in terms of ideas, one of the things we want to try and drive in the discussion tonight are what ideas resonate with you. Just listening to the update, what ideas come to mind? If you were in our position, what would be a priority and why? If you were trying to develop an ecosystem for entrepreneurs or to help recent college grads advance and excel, what are some things that you think that we should prioritize through the Roux Institute? We have the opportunity to go in all the right places this year. We're not constrained, right? We're well resourced, we're committed, we're building a university from scratch, so we can go where we should go. And it's one of the things that's really exciting about this from the Northeastern perspective. I also think, finally, some of you here are yourselves entrepreneurs who've had success. And I wonder if Margaret, because Kit asked about mentoring, if you could just talk a little bit about our vision for creating fellows and mentor networks specifically for entrepreneurs as a way to respond to the question. And then as Margaret's doing that, I'll invite other questions or ideas in the chat, and Matt will tee them up for us.
Yeah, so the first two legs of the stool are the learning and the research, and the third leg of the stool is entrepreneurship. And what we mean by that is really three things. The first is that we want to create a campus that's alive for entrepreneurs, that says that Maine is the most exciting place to start and grow a business. So we'll be doing community events and getting people into the network. Then the second piece is going to be around working to specifically accelerate businesses that are in our, in computer science and life sciences. So we'll be doing some more dedicated programming and acceleration work with them. And then the third piece is going to be working on tech commercialization out of Northeastern. So working with both our corporate partners and our researchers on, commercialization of technologies into new businesses. So we need mentors for all of those streams. So Northeastern, we're going to start with Northeastern's Venture Mentor Network, as well as some of the other mentor programs that are in some of the colleges, and basically help to connect entrepreneurs into mentoring relationships through those networks. And so we'll be basically creating sort of add-on databases of mentors, if that makes sense, specifically for Maine, or people that are specifically interested in mentoring in Maine. And so, if you have legal, marketing, customer acquisition, all the things that an entrepreneur needs, we're looking to grow our mentor network for all those companies. And if you've worked in accelerators and incubators, we need you, because we'll be creating one here. Yeah, the mentors are going to be a very, very important part of what we provide for our entrepreneurs. I also should say that as you think about it, right, think about your Northeastern network, because one of the things that we're trying to do for Maine is create a diverse set of mentors in every kind of dimension that we know comes from really the incredible Northeastern alumni group. And so if you're in Maine, you need a lot of different things that aren't here. We can use not just Maine folks, but folks from all around the network to support the companies and entrepreneurs that are here.
All right. I think there's a little bit of a follow-up to that, kind of with the mentorship. Philip asked, are we identifying NU alumni who live in the Portland area that could be mentors or partners?
Philip, we're not proactively sort of working a list of people to say, oh, these people seem to be appropriate for mentors for us. We have a variety of programs at the university where we've engaged with different entrepreneurs or different alums over the years, and we've come to know them and can think about them in this context. But one of the things that we want to do these types of discussions for is so that people can self-identify, and as Rick suggested at the beginning, be thinking about your expertise and your interests and asking the question in a macro way, how can I participate at the Roux Institute? So if you're asking because you feel as though you have expertise to offer and you'd be interested, we'd love to hear from you and follow up with you to understand how and why and try to find the way to implement that.
Great. I think we have one more question. Another question is, what will the Roux do to create more opportunities for traditional underrepresented people in STEM?
That's a really great question. I'll try and answer it initially, Mike, and then maybe ask you to talk about the specific program that is a big part of that will be in our initial portfolio. So we have several things in mind. One, you have to create opportunity by finding the people who can most benefit. So our marketing campaigns are going to be aimed across a variety of platforms to make sure that as many constituencies as is possible can know about the Roux Institute, not just in Maine or even in New England, but eventually targeting communities nationally, so that if people are thinking about doing graduate education and they could choose, for example, between Boston or Portland, Maine, we'd obviously like them to choose the latter. We have investment that enables scholarship support, and we are rolling out the scholarship programs that I mentioned earlier, and we're developing at the moment with the help of our colleagues in the Corey College of Computer Science, who've been very successful in this regard, scholarships specifically for underrepresented groups in technology, and those will be featured as part of our work this summer to shape and launch the inaugural class. And then, Mike, I wonder if you might just talk about Align and its specific purpose to do just this.
Yeah, the Corey College of Computer Science has a trademark program called the Align Master's Degree in Computer Science. And the target audience for that is for essentially for people who didn't do their undergraduate degree in computer science, to basically get them up to speed over a series of several courses, and then they can continue on and finish a master's degree as part of the in the program. And this has had an enormous. This has been spearheaded by Dean Carla Broadley who leads the Corey College. The premise is that so many women leave technology and computer science while they are perhaps in college, and they are exposed to somewhat less supportive environment for their participation in that field, their full participation in the field. However, when a student then comes forward into their career, like if they've graduated from college, they've been off doing something, they then can go back and say, oh, right, I actually do want to study computer science, and I do have the skills for it. And that increased sort of that new opportunity and the increased level of confidence in a supportive environment that the Align creates actually has demonstrated a significant uptick in the number of women who complete their master's degree in computer science. It's a hallmark program of Corey, and it was basically built out at the in earnest at the Seattle campus, but we get tons and tons of interest across the board.
I'll also say that it's specifically effective at addressing the question that was asked. It's attracting members of underrepresented communities and women into the STEM fields and serving them well with completion rates in the 90% range, which is extraordinary given that it's aimed directly at a group of people who don't tend to have the undergraduate backgrounds in technology or mathematics, and that frankly other universities may not sort of attempt to serve. The program's been so successful that Dean Broadley and her colleagues have been awarded a pretty significant grant to teach other universities how to run their own Align program, and they're administering that this year. And it'll be among the first programs we offer, and in fact, 2 of our first admits at the Roux Institute are admits to the Align program. We're very excited about it.
Great, thanks everyone. We have another question in from Barbara Trafton. You've talked quite a bit about partnerships with small and large businesses, but could you talk about how you might work with state government? For example, the Climate Council report will be out in December. How might Roux work with these recommendations around energy independence, carbon reduction, food self-sufficiency, transportation, infrastructure, and etc.?
I'm happy to take that one. So I love the question. So we've been working very closely with the Commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development on the state. The state published earlier this year its first economic strategic plan. There hadn't been one for the state in like 25 years or something. So we're working very closely to align our priorities with the states and make sure that our workforce development aligns with their priorities. We also have a very close relationship with the City of Portland. They hired a new director of innovation who's focused on creating some smart city projects in Portland around some of these topics that you mentioned in the question. I will say that, municipal government budgets are going to be very tough. And so we have an opportunity to step in with the Research Institute and with the experts to advise government. So we're working closely to find out what they want. And I mean, we talk to them all the time. Specifically on the Climate Council, it's a broadly represented group. I'm personally very interested in that council, and I think the governor has shown some real leadership in creating it. She spoke at the UN on the climate crisis, and so I think it's important. It's an important report for the state. There is one scientist who's on the Climate Council, and he happens to be a scientist that Mike and I have been having conversations with about developing research projects with. So I believe what comes out of that recommendation will start and continue to be part of our conversations. So we're watching and waiting to learn more about what the priorities are.
Okay. Next
Mike,
we have,
sorry, Matt. Mike, can you just build on that a little bit and talk about the roadmap for research development in the coming years and allowing us to be responsive to community priorities or opportunities that exist in terms of federal funding or the like, and how we're purposely building the Research Institute to be aligned and pursue opportunities?
Well, so an important part of any research operation is to have a research development organization that's plugged into the opportunities as they emerge. So we're in the process of building out a cadre of technology scouts, basically folks that have their ear to the rail, listening for opportunities, funding opportunities that can come about from the federal government, from the state government, and from other sources. This is to use a recent example, the research funding that was made available as a the COVID response and recovery opportunities has given us a chance to look for and build new collaborations with companies and other universities in Maine. And so it's actually helping us to speed the growth of our research operation at a rate faster than we had first anticipated. But the idea is that these scouts are going to be responsive to the needs that are identified on the ground. I also want to highlight Northeastern has its Global Resilience Institute, and they are very well plugged into, they've been very, very active with, among others, the state of Maine in terms of preparing for COVID response and then the subsequent recovery that will have to come from that. And so, we've been talking to the Resilience Institute to find ways that we can, at the Roux, contribute to some of the effort that they're trying to put forward.
Great. So I'm going to jump in here if I can, colleagues. And Matt, you're doing a terrific job fielding the questions, but I would like to go ahead and there's a couple more here. And I think I want to wrap it together. I actually have a couple myself. And I just want to do a sort of a last minute call while I'm speaking. If you do have any questions, feel free to post those in. There was a query up a few minutes ago about, are we identifying alumni in the Portland area who could be mentors? The answer to that is absolutely yes. And in fact, we're going broader than Portland. I posted the stats in the chat in terms of the number of alumni, both at the grad and the undergraduate level. We actually know those by state, so we're not limiting that to Maine, but Vermont, New Hampshire. In addition to a personal ask tonight, each of you have an opportunity to serve in that role as mentor if you would like. But we definitely are aware, we know where and who these alumni are and their potential. But this is part of what I would say part of your role is this evening is you may have personal interests, but you also may know fellow alumni that could be of great interest. Let me do a quick, short, pithy questions. And it doesn't matter, Chris, Margaret, Mike, why don't you just all unmute and make sure. I posted in the chat an email address that I thought, that I'm thinking that's the best way if folks want to continue a relationship with you, to reach out to you, or do you want to post your own personal email? Help me help you. In other words, I posted an email address, but I sense already, just even through this technology, I sense that there could be individuals this evening that might want to do more. This is a kickoff tonight. This is a refresher. This is a progress. So is that the way you want folks to reach out to you?
That's a very easy way. All that email gets read and quickly referred to the right folks.
Okay,
so that's actually really good. You should also feel free to, I think, to email us directly. I'm happy to. I can put I can put my email address up. I'm sure Margaret and Chris are okay with that too. But yeah, the Roux main email address is a good place.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Mike. That's in the chat. There's a couple of questions that I just think are I want to make sure we get to before we close. Will there be co-op possibilities for undergrad students at the Roux Institute in the future?
Yeah, we're working right now actually with the folks that lead our co-op program at all campuses to develop a featured partner program for Maine co-ops. One of the ways we think that we can fulfill the mission of the Roux Institute is to help Northeastern undergraduates experience Maine as undergraduates through their co-op program. And it won't surprise anybody here, those undergrads are in demand. So our employer partners have asked us to set up this program so they can hire more co-ops and get them to Maine before they graduate and have a chance to potentially hire them long-term.
Great. So I'm going to do rapid fire because, again, this could be, I want folks to get all the questions in they can. So I see one here. So let's do short and pithy if we can. How will the certificate programs differ from the full degree programs? Will certificate courses be subsequently convertible to a master's?
Yep, that's how they stack. Some people want just a certificate for a specific focused set of skills and abilities to take that next step. But what's distinct is that they aggregate so that you can put them together and get the master's degree. And by the way, it's not just certificates. Some of our engagements are courses that stack to certificates, that stack to degrees. That's what lifelong learning is.
Okay, I'm gonna paraphrase this. Lucinda, if I get it wrong, why don't you throw it right back in and say, Rick, you botched this. But Lucinda has an interest from an international context, bringing in students from international researchers who are from other countries, or sending Roux folks out there for joint programs. So I thought I gave that decent daylight, Lucinda. If I didn't, you can follow up. But I think in general, colleagues, could you speak about, is Roux going to be really focused on Maine, both ways and so forth, or what, is there any international component? I think that's what Lucinda's asking.
Yeah, there will be. We have a little bit of regulatory work to do to get the campus authorized to serve international learners, and the current, global reality doesn't help that move faster. But a big part of our pipeline and students that we intend to serve will be international students who choose Portland for their graduate degree. And Mike, you could talk about the fact that research is global and boundaryless anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, so just like every other, any research program across the university, we're going to bring in the right students and researchers to work on the research projects that have been brought to the Roux Institute. We bring the right talent in to address the questions. I will just reiterate that the goal of the Roux Institute is to build the tech workforce and to build tech, right? We can do both with folks no matter where they're from. But go ahead.
Right. Thank you. So, the thing that we need to probably close down. We are starting to lose a few folks, but in the absence of any pressing questions arriving on the chat, and Matt, you can let me know if I'm doing due diligence. If I'm ignoring a question, just interrupt me and say, wait a minute, dude, one more coming. But the reality that we've given you a lot of email addresses, and we've given you I've posted some things for you to connect with these colleagues individually. I think that all of my colleagues would be disappointed if you did not. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. So as we have this update, I don't look at 7:30 on the East Coast as a closing of all things Roux. This is really just a launch for many more weeks ahead. And so we hope that we've incited your interest to continue with us, but also to have a really long-standing relationship. The best thing, I'm going to call to action. I'm going to ask each of you who are on to do something. I'm going to ask you to, you obviously were here because you were interested in Roux, and I believe that you have some level of interest in hoping that Roux will succeed, and we think that it will. I think that it will succeed at a higher level if each of you choose to get involved in a way that you're comfortable with. And so the ask I have for you each is that think about what role you want with Roux and let us know what that is. And more importantly, I guess it's a double ask, is share this with your network, because we can drop a lot of money in marketing and we can do a lot of fancy and sophisticated things. But I have over the years found there is no substitute for the power of your own, leveraging your own personal credibility and sharing what's going on at Roux with those that trust you. And so I would like to ask each of you, this is how you can help us immensely, is to take a hold of what's happening at Roux and make sure you share it with a great deal of pride, a great deal of Northeastern pride, a great deal of Maine pride, a great deal of New England pride, and that will help the world globally. So that is my call to action. Do something with this. Don't just go to the sidelines. You each have value, and I would like to see you have a role and let others know about this, because your network trusts you. Okay, I don't think I'm seeing any more. Major and Matt, post my email. So Barbara's asking for my email address. Okay, I want each of you to tell me something. And you don't know what this question is, so I love this. It's going to really, hopefully, it'll stump one of you. I would like to know one surprise, one thing that caught you off guard in all of this. Not the pandemic, you cannot use that. But just think about we last connected in February in Portland. And since then, what's one thing you didn't see coming? That I'm not going to judge it, good, bad, right, or wrong. That's not where I'm at. But just like what really kind of threw you, because you're all superb geniuses. You're so intelligent. You know what you're doing. You've got the right approach. I'm so proud that Northeastern has you on that team. but tell me what has caught you kind of, okay, Philip is crazy. Philip, he can't use weight gain. Come on, I want something more business focused. What's been a surprise? And I don't know where it's going. And I'm not going to pick on, so who wants to go and get it done? Each of you have to say something.
I'm going to take
Each of
the
us?
easy one.
Yes,
Give
each
Margaret a
one.
chance to think. I have been pleasantly surprised at when they had a chance to kind of say, we've got other things that we've got to focus on right now, how focused our partners have stayed with us. They've continued to make our business plan a priority. And if you think about the last 3 or 4 months, you know, every one of them had reason to say, we got to focus on our own business right now. Good luck.
That's true.
So it's a really strong testament to community and how excited the people in Maine are about this and its potential. And it was surprising in a good way.
All right, thank you, Chris. Mike or
I
Margaret?
think one of the things that the president said at the launch was that we can't do this alone. And when he was talking about that at that presentation, he was talking about it. He was specifically speaking to the academic institutions that were in the room. And so if you look at Colby, Bowdoin, Bates, University of Maine, University of New England, University of Southern Maine, all these colleges and universities in Maine could have been just threatened and insular and run away. And yet, the thing that has surprised me the most, and now having spoken to all these folks at these universities and colleges, it shouldn't have surprised me. The uptake and the enthusiasm for what we're doing is leading to some really cool and exciting ideas for their students and for our students, their students, and everyone in our faculty. You know, opportunities to get involved in what's going on at the other institutions, taking advantage of research synergies, educational opportunities. It's just fabulous. You know, there was a chance for them to basically cocoon up and say, no, we're doing our thing, but we're all in it together. It's great.
That's great. Okay, Margaret, what's your surprise?
So I'm with Chris and Mike on those were great surprises. To add to it a little bit different, one of the strangest things we've had to do is build a team, right? We have 17 people. Many of these people I've never met face to face. And so interviewing and finding teammates and then trying to create a team that's going to do this is a whole new experience. And the thing that has really surprised me is the incredible passion that people have for the mission of Roux, and the fact that, frankly, really amazing established people raise their hands to make a radical move in the middle of a global pandemic. And it's just been awesome. It's like every week we have someone new, and they've got a really amazing reason why they're passionate about the mission in Northeastern, and they're getting the work done in their living rooms. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Wow. Okay, well, on behalf of the Office of Alumni Relations and Annual Giving within the Division of University Advancement, I want to thank Margaret, Mike, and Chris. Thank you for coming on board with us. I think this was a wonderful opportunity. So we got together in February in person, and I look forward to perhaps maybe in September, if you would agree. Maybe we do another check-in via the Zoom format, perhaps, and continue to provide this opportunity and see where all the things are going. To our wonderful participants that are from all over the regions, we'll be sending a survey out to you in about 30 minutes. You have an opportunity to let us know how we can serve you better, your reactions to this program this evening. I'm glad that someone asked for my email. I'm here for you. I work for you. And so anything, even if it's not related to Roux, please reach out to me via my email and let me know how we can serve you. We are here for you forever. So thank you very much, Roux Institute colleagues. We look forward to reconnecting with you, maybe perhaps in September or October, and see what's exciting and happening then. I thought the questions were terrific, and I thought you all were just a wonderful team. So it's great to see you make the progress that we have observed since February. All right.
Thank you.
It's a wrap,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you all for joining.